to CXQA Live, the
Woo!
home of the agent-centric contact center philosophy. This is going to be a ramped-up episode. This is your forewarning. There's going to be a lot of adrenaline going here. Now, we talk every week about how agents with the right training and tools and connection with your company are going to be a revenue growth and protection center for your business or brand. They're going to be the best diagnostic tool that you can have for your business. They're going to ensure your customers are satisfied and connected. They're going to produce more and better work, and they're going to want to stick around and contribute to the long-term success of your company. Now, today on the show, here he goes. Today on the show, we have with us co-founder of CX Accelerator, one of the most clear, genuine, and enthusiastic advocates for what matters, customer experience and customer service, wearer of memorable hats and outfits, Nate Brown. So glad to have you, my friend.
What's going on? I'm so happy to be here. I've been really looking forward to this incredible introduction, Rob. I could not agree any more with some of your statements there about how amazing and strategic the contact center is, and these resources, these agents who are capable of these amazing things. So I cannot wait to dive into this with you. I am live here in Nashville at QATC, the Quality and Training Connection Show. It's been a great vibe out here, great conversation so far. But been very excited about this. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, dude, it's been a long time coming. Basically what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to wind you up and let you go about this topic, right? Which is, let's let agents out of the box. So just to get us started, why don't you explain what is this box that agents are in, and why should CX leaders and organizations be trying to let them out of it?
Yeah. So, I came up through the customer service environment, the contact center, and absolutely loved the work. I was there taking 100 tickets a day, which to me, that was helping 100 people do something meaningful, which in this case was helping keeping them safe on their job. It was workplace health and safety. So really important stuff. But as amazing as that was, we created these great connections with customers. I always felt like the entire customer service team was kind of viewed as second-class citizens in a lot of ways, and just not respected by the organization. And our voice just wasn't heard in the same way. And it just flabbergasted me, because I saw the incredible work that my team was doing, not my team in terms of me as a leader, but like just my peer group. And these connections we were creating, it just felt so strategic to me. I mean, it was truly the front lines of the organization in terms of fulfilling the brand promise. But yet the organization didn't really see it that way. So I mean, that's the external box that we get put in as customer service professionals at times, is that perception, that lens that we need to help to break out of. But then there's another box too that we put ourselves in as customer service folks, as agents, and that's restricting our own capabilities to level up in our talent and to do some really amazing stuff for the organization beyond the taking of tickets. And that's really what me and Rob started talking about recently, and I've been writing some about recently too, is this idea of agents should not be ticket takers. I mean, that's one part of their job. It's so critical, right? And we got to knock that backlog out. But all the stuff that's being learned in these customer interactions, all the ways that we can take this treasure trove of insight, of connection that we've had from that day, and go do something meaningful with it. We got to have our agents be a part of that too. and we cut them off from that entire part of the cycle. It's like, just log your tickets and go home. And it's time to shatter that box, Rob.
It totally is. By the way, you've got a visitor behind you.
Yes. What's going on? We got Doug here. And yeah, what's up, Doug? How you doing?
Doug, how you doing, friend? Glad to see you.
For crashing the party. Yeah. It's all. We got Justin Robbins out here, Vicky Harrell. So we got some great folks from the cohort of Vistio. Love to see it.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So I mean, so many things that I could just take from what you just said and just have you break it down. But I'd just like to imagine, if anybody can imagine with me, how great it would be to call a customer service number and get Nate Brown on the other end as your agent, and how much positivity and enthusiasm and just like getting why this matters, that experience would entail as a customer. And I think that that's one of the reasons that you have such authority in the industry, is that we all kind of get how deep this is for you, right? And I think that's what you're really talking about here. You talked about the two-way street of, it's not just that the organization and leaders need to understand the value of the agents, but the agents do too. And the agents need to understand that their work is meaningful, but at the same time, some of the ways that they are hired and measured and dealt with in the organizations by leaders make it harder for them to see the meaning in their work. And so, there's this two-way street. And we had Lisa Guzman on last week, and we were literally talking about this exact topic, where, because her whole focus is on helping agents to have a career mindset, but that is a two-way street. It requires the agents and the organization. So I want to just focus in on one aspect of this real quick, and I'm going to wind you up again and let you go, my friend. And that is, do you think most agents, and again, we're speaking in generality terms here, really understand that they know more about the customer and the business than many of the leaders? Do you think that most agents really get that? And then in turn, what should they do with that realization once they really understand it?
Wow. Yeah. So, I've been saying for a while, I feel like the customer service interaction is like a mini marriage that takes place. So you have the need of this customer, but does the customer have the ability to express that need clearly? Probably not. There's discernment that is required to navigate that part of the relationship. You have to get to the bottom of what the customer is truly trying to achieve, not what they said, what they actually need. Then you get to officiate the wedding ceremony between that need and the abilities of the business. So you have to know the products and services and the ins and outs, the data flow of the organization better than anybody, so that you can have this marriage occur. And it's a difficult ceremony to arrange because of all the insight that you have to have, both with that customer journey and with the organizational journey. Yeah. So people that do that every day, can you imagine how intelligent they get? Yeah. But then we reduce them to the ticket taker mentality. Just solve the problem and make the customer go away. No, we just accomplished a miracle. We just unified. We just ordained a marriage between two things, two separate parties, this business and a customer, and they were not meshing, and now they are. We brought them together in relationship. My goodness, let's celebrate that more, and let's learn from that more, and have the agents themselves be the mouthpiece for that. Because a lot of times, even the best contact centers can do the reporting and get the data out and start to put it in some dashboards. Look at all the things we're learning in the contact center. And that's like advanced stuff, right? And that's getting out of the ticket taking mentality. But then sometimes we separate that, the extension, the strategy of learning from the contact center interactions, but we break the agent out of that process, and we don't allow them to be the representation. We don't allow them to officiate yet another marriage ceremony, which is the business growing and learning through the insight of these interactions and making them come to life beyond what a report can do. So that's what agents don't generally understand. Most leaders don't truly understand is the opportunity that we have to position these customer service workers as a mouthpiece, as the personification of the voice of the customer, because of the unique insights they've gained through these interactions.
Yeah, and we're going to get to the leaders in a minute. But
here we come.
but specifically thinking from the perspective of agents, right? Many of them see their work as reduced only to the metrics by which they're measured. Right. And so most human interaction in the meaningful sense cannot be measured by a metric. Right. And so you can't measure connectivity. You can measure symptoms of connectivity later. That's where you get NPS and you get all these other metrics that are created, like to try to get a danced around sort of feel of, well, how much does the customer feel connected now? But really, you can't measure that connection real time live. And yet it's that often in many industries, the customer service connecting point, the connection is what allows policies to be delivered and accepted, for issues to be resolved, all that core stuff And that involves the agent's ability to see both the company's values and needs and priorities and the customers, and to wed those together in a way that is palatable and acceptable to the customer. And like you said, that's basically a miracle. That's basically a miracle, right? And so, I think the ability for an agent to really take it from my work is complicated and I like helping people to adding strategic value, it's once again a two-way street.
I love it. I love how you say it, Rob. Big hello to Andrea and to Stacy out there. Thank you all for checking in and for preaching. Andrea said preach, so I said for participating in the chat over here. Would love your questions and would love your chats over there. Now, Rob, I love the way that you say that, and it's just such an opportunity to give these agents more confidence in the incredible work that they're doing. I mean, it's even more true now than ever, because we have successfully automated a lot of the transactional stuff. And that's where the reputation of this work came from, right? It's just, okay, here's that, boom, 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 2-second, interactions, all that transactional stuff. We have successfully automated a lot of that. So now what is left? It's the marriage. It's the complicated interaction. It's the creative interaction. It's the customer who doesn't even know the question to ask to the live bot. They need guidance. They need insight. So again, we got to have a great digital ecosystem that can bring this information to the agent so that they can interface with this customer and ascertain the right definition of success and ultimately guide them there in a way that only they can do. It's becoming harder and better, this work. At the same time, harder and better. I mean both of those things, because the work is even more exciting, it's more challenging, and therefore we should be viewing these resources that do it even more strategically and giving them even more and more of a voice inside the organization.
Glad you said that. I'm going to use that as the segue to take us to this question, which is, because we know that there are increasing number of leaders and organizations that kind of see the value of the agent differently, and the attrition rates that the industry has dealt with in the last 2 years has caused even C-suite people to say, well, what are we going to do about this attrition problem? And then CX leaders are able to say, well, we have to value the agents better. And so there has been an awakening of sorts, where it's like, we need to ask some different questions. We need to value agent experience because it negatively impacts our business outcomes if we don't. So there's a growing awareness and awakening. But my question is this: despite that awakening that's been growing over the last couple of years, there's still a lot of growth that's needed. And I think it's that there are practical roadblocks for CX leaders that get this to actually implementing systems and policies and procedures that represent the day-to-day function of this. So my question to you is this: what are the roadblocks? What are the roadblocks that these leaders that are starting to see this and that believe it are facing in order to actually get it implemented in a way that it changes the course of the CX organization with the agents?
It's a complicated question. I mean, there are many, but I think if we were to simplify that as much as possible, the organization is going to view the customer service function in one of two ways, and they're going to be somewhere on a scale here. One is ultra efficiency. There is a cost center mentality. We want to make sure that we're checking this box here and that these customer interactions are happening and that we're able to do what we need to do to move forward from this. Not necessarily that strategic view. Then you have all the way up to every time we talk to our customers, it's a huge opportunity to further and extend our partnership with them. So there's that scale, right? And the reality is going to be somewhere on there. So, I mean, Jeremy raises a great point. The trick is scalability. So organizations, many of which are in a cost-cutting mode right now, they're thinking about how can we save money long-term and reduce the cost of this customer service burden, perhaps. So now, I mean, it's gotta happen to where we can demonstrate, no. This is our differentiator. Like this is the opportunity. How many opportunities do we have to actually create competitive differentiation with our customers? How many real opportunities do we have for that? So many parts of the experience can be commoditized and digitized and replicated in a way that people can do nearly overnight. But your ability to defend and follow through on your brand promise in the area of customer service, it's a unique and incredible opportunity. So the more that these leaders can be equipped to demonstrate the positive impact upon customer engagement, customer health, share of wallet, renewal and retention. Like, here's what happens when we treat our customers really well in these customer service interactions, and differentiating that between here's what happens when we do the bare minimum. I mean, there's true value, there's true ROI in this. So you have to help the organization to award the freedom for a little bit of extra time. Jeremy's talking about the scalability of this. If you're in that mode where it's all about efficiency, we want agents to do this thing and to keep these metrics and to be in this box. I feel like things like the effortless experience has really helped us to get out of that mode somewhat and to see the value of this. I mean, one of my favorite examples is things like next issue avoidance. Let's not rush the customer off the interaction. Let's think about what they really need to achieve next. Let's keep them on a little longer so that they don't have to reach out to us again. And just asking that question of, wow, are you about to do this? Because I think what might really help you is if we do this together right now. Are you anticipating this and thinking through, being a guide for the customer, and not just checking the box and making them go away? Average handle time. We're escaping those legacy mentalities around things like average handle time and replacing them with higher value interactions that would be representative of the officiant, the marriage ceremony officiant, the guide, bringing that relationship to a better place, a better destination that has real value attributed to it. Those are the things we have to do to earn that, Rob.
That's really, really strong, Nate. I mean, look, I think we have to continue to flip the script, right? Because the script has been contact center equals cost. So then the only goal with the contact center is to reduce that cost. And that's just wrong most of the time. There's so much more to the real narrative that you're going to actually see your bottom line and your top line impacted by the quality of interaction and engagement that your customers have with your contact center. So let's say we save 10% on costs by cutting costs in the contact center, but we lose 30% of our revenue.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's
20% loss, right? And so
that's real.
That's real.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between gross and net as well in the business. And so if we're trying to improve our net, but we make a bigger ding in the gross, that's just called bad business. And yet that's the mentality that so many have. Now there's a ton of great stuff in the chat. Nate, there's a question that Shafiq asked that I would really love for you to engage on, and I'll read it so that you can answer it. He says, what advice do you have for agents who hop from contact center to contact center and remain in a frontline role? And our buddy Doug, who just photobombed you a second ago, kind of adds another layer because he's now, as he says, lurking in the chat. We're glad to have you both live and virtually fully in the chat at the same time in the same show, Doug. That is a CXQA live record. So
that's a win. Well done, Doug.
Everything, I guess. But he adds the layer to this question, which is, what role do the leaders have in that lack of retention with these kind of a narrative? So we'd love for you to speak to Shafiq's question and Doug's nuance to it.
Yeah. So Shafiq's question, what advice do you have for agents who hop from contact center to contact center and remain in a frontline agent role? So folks, get smarter. Come into your power as a contact center agent in terms of allowing this mini marriage ceremony to happen and helping the business to get smarter and more intelligent at what those interactions represent. Become more proactive. Help the organization in the area of voice of customer. How are we learning from these interactions? How can we get beyond this ticket taking mode? You don't have to be a leader to help the organization to embrace that. And the other biggest thing, I mean, if this is a contact center agent that's wanting to advance and excel in the contact center, there is one thing as a hiring manager and as somebody who promoted many contact center agents over the years. Rob, would you care to guess what that one thing is that I was looking for above all else?
Lay it on us, Nate. Tell us.
The ability to share knowledge.
Mm.
Somebody who helps their peers and is
Mm.
generous with knowledge. If you're equipping the frontline agents around you, if you're making them better at their jobs, that is the person I'm going to promote right there, because it's a rare mentality. It's a rare gift. Somebody that can reach beyond themselves and in the survival of their day and their own individual customer interactions, and reach forward and beyond to help those around them, and to be generous with the sharing of knowledge, both written and verbal, the organic mentorship that they would do. That's your supervisor. So that would be my advice, Shafiq, to that individual. So then, leveling up the question a little bit, Andrea, how do you convince team leads and leadership that we need to empower our agents and listen harder to them? So it's hard to convince anybody of anything, right? I mean, to some degree, they kind of have to see it for themselves. So, you always got to think of that age-old question: what is keeping this team lead up at night? What is the challenge that they're facing? And it's probably something around, we can't get the right talent in the door. We can't motivate them correctly to do the job. I just want them to do their job, to do it well, so that I can look like I'm doing my job well. It's going to be something like that. If we do the things we're talking about, if we intrinsically motivate agents, if we give them the freedom to go beyond the box of a ticket taker, then you, team lead, will never have looked better inside the organization than you will at that time, when you're helping these frontline agents to develop into something more. You're going from reactive to proactive. You're helping to evolve the entire service department into a strategic force in the business by awarding a little extra time and freedom and autonomy, and helping to level up these incredible, talented service workers. I mean, that is the job of the team lead, or what it should be. But what happens? What happens? We were talking about it here at QATC this morning. We get so caught up in our little check boxes and in our little internal facing performance metrics, the things that we hold ourselves accountable to. And those are important. Those are a barometer. Those are an indicator of success. But what really matters, us getting better at our jobs and being able to do even better in our customer interactions, generating value, is what matters. So be looking at these team leads and these leaders. What are you really focused on right now? And how much does that actually lend itself to strategic customer experience level thought versus reactive customer service legacy metric thought? And that might help. That whole process right there might cause the awakening to be like, we've got to help these people to be even better, and not even to be better, to be what they already are, without us standing in the way of that.
Yeah.
And that's how all of us get to demonstrate more value to the organization.
Well, and that's where you talk about letting agents out of the box. That's where that whole idea is. It's not that there's something inherently broken with the agents. It's that they're being limited by themselves and by the organization in many cases, right? So
Many
I just
times.
want to tie a couple of things together real quick, because we've had just great engagement and conversation going on in the chat, because we're all sort of on the same page, I think, about these principles. And, when we talk about, and Jeremy mentioned this, even the cost conversation, that typically where that whole, how do you measure what you should be investing in conversation goes to die is the CFO's office, right? because to the CFO, if I can't measure it exactly and predict an ROI that shows that I'm doing my job of counting the beans correctly as the CFO, then I'm going to put a kibosh on it. I'm going to stop it. So that, there's a great book called Measure What Matters. It's a really fantastic book.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah.
And I think one of the rubs with the CX industry, one of the reasons we have these kinds of issues, is that a lot of the things that need to be measured can't be measured easily. A lot of the things that really matter, which is the quality of interaction and empathy and engagement that the agents have with the customers, very, very difficult to measure in a way that's going to show up for the CFO for a business case when you're looking to make an investment. And then second, on top of that, is it's very, very difficult. And I'm relatively new to the industry, but I see it already. It's very, very difficult to have these kinds of conversations when there's already a cost saving, we have to reduce costs in the contact center sort of driving force. It's almost like a runaway train. And so, we might save the business if we spend this, but we can't because we have to cut costs. And that comes down from the board of directors of the CFO or, whatever it is.
It's all about time, Rob. So the quarterly shareholder value model is the absolute detriment of all things customer experience, because we can't squeeze it into that box. It's not going to work. The value that we're talking about that we absolutely can and will generate is a long-term type of value. And I've got to give respect to, Todd Blevins, a dear friend of mine who just passed away. And he's one of the most customer-centric CFOs I've ever seen. The guy was incredible. And so there are CFOs out there that naturally get that. And Todd was one of them. And I miss that guy already. But there is an education that can happen here too. Most finance-minded people can get this. There's just an education cycle in terms of short-term value versus long-term value. So if we're trying to cut cost in Q3 of 2023, forget it. Like that's not a CX conversation. If we're really trying to understand how we can generate more long-term value in 2024, that is a CX conversation. And I always talk about developing your CX change coalition. Change coalition is a John Coder term. And it's the underpinning of leading change, his whole brilliant change management methodology. One of the absolute top people that you got to have in your CX change coalition is a leader within the finance group who sees this critical part of the customer journey and can help to enable the success of all of this and help the other leaders, the other executives in the business to break free of the box of the quarterly revenue shareholder model, to think long-term about customer partnership and how to maximize value extending into 2024 and beyond. It happens here. It happens at the CX level.
It's so good. I could unpack with you everything you just said for the next hour. But we have about a minute and a half left. And I want us to finish our time with something very, very practical. So we've been talking about the opportunity that agents represent to add strategic and not just functional value. What are some quick hit kind of day-to-day basis things that leaders can do to realize that strategic value that the agents represent?
Yeah. A couple that just kind of pop in my mind here. I love hosting like a mini open house for the organization around, hey, we're gonna focus on a particular area of the customer journey. We've learned some things about this, and we're just gonna invite the organization, and it could be short, it could be 45 minutes or so. We're gonna look at some new voice of customer information. Hint, hint, the agents are presenting that. They're the voice of that because they're the ones learning through those interactions, and they're representing that data and bringing it to life because they had the interactions. And then you get to be creative together and collaborate. How can we reduce friction on this area together? And get some buy-in with that, get some excitement, develop some energy, help to bring voice of customer to life and let your agents be a part of that cycle. So that would definitely be one right there. We did a funny thing, a while back where we had one product that was kind of suffering with internal perception. And so I got, the customer service folks involved, and we decided to do this fun mock scenario where we basically forced the employees of the organization to put on their customer hat. It was an incident management system. So we created an incident where there was me, broke their arm in the break room because the Kool-Aid man burst through a wall. Oh. And so what we did as a customer service team, we extended logins to employees across the organization and said, you got to watch the security footage. There was an incident in the break room. We're going to help you to get logged in, get started in this application. And if you can generate this report as an EHS manager, environmental health and safety manager, if you can generate this report to log this incident, that's your ticket to come into lunch. And then we got to present some voice of customer data at that. It was so much fun. So I mean, get creative. The whole point here is let your agents have fun and develop curiosity around their role to bring voice of customer information to life. There's different ways that you get to do that, and let your agents be a part of it. That to me is kind of the bottom line thing I would love for folks to take away. And if you want to bounce ideas off me, I love talking about this stuff and would love to try and get creative with you and generate a fun idea or two of how we can help your voice of customer data come to life.
I would just like to point out that in our show today, which is about to end, we have run the gambit from both sides of the agent experience perspective and talking about so many things, everything from the nature of whether your company should be employee owned versus public. Thank you for that, Matt. All the way down to the Kool-Aid man busting through the break room wall and breaking somebody's arm as a way of beginning to engage your agents to realize their own strategic value. And I would just say this whole sort of way of going about this conversation embodies the holistic nature of the problems and opportunities that we're addressing. It's not a simple formula. It's not just push this one button and everything gets better. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and every situation is also unique. So I would encourage folks, I'm getting ready to push this big red button out of respect for time. It's been so fantastic having you with us, Nate. We got to end with the shades, of course. And so feel free to join us in the discussion room right after I push goodbye here. But Nate, thank you for joining us, man. It's really been fun.
Thank you, everybody. This was awesome. Have a great day.
Everybody make a difference in your world. Happy Tuesday.